My name is Harleen Gambhir. I'm a counter-terrorism analyst at the Institute for the Study of War. ISW is an open source intelligence organization that focuses on conflict zones in the Middle East and beyond. My work particularly focuses on the Islamic State of Iraq and al-Sham, ISIS, and we have developed a specialty in studying what ISIS is doing outside of Iraq and Syria. So in what we call ISIS's near abroad, which is the Middle East, North Africa, and Central Asia, and then the far abroad, which is the wider world. And so over the past year or so, my team has been looking very extensively at how ISIS is executing its global strategy. ISIS is executing a global strategy that involves three simultaneous campaigns. ISIS is defending its existing territory within Iraq and Syria. At the same time, it's working with regional affiliates to foster disorder in what we call the near abroad, the Middle East and North Africa. And finally, ISIS is also launching a terror campaign focused at the far abroad to include the West, Australia, and Southeast Asia.
So Harleen, what is a war game and how did you structure this one?
So a war game is any kind of simulation that looks at how actors might respond to any given conflict situation. It can be as simple as a card game and as complex as a full-scale military planning exercise. In our case, we conducted two separate full-day simulation exercises that brought together regional scholars as well as U.S. military personnel who each assumed the roles of different states in the Middle East as well as roles within the U.S. sort of military decision-making structure. And those actors had to respond to events that we had laid out, scenarios that we had written about ISIS's actions in Egypt and Libya primarily, but also in Iraq and Syria, based on the strategic objectives that they believed their represented state or actor would choose.
What is the general purpose of conducting a war game? Why did ISW choose to conduct a simulation on this topic?
ISW chose to conduct a simulation on this particular topic because we've seen that the United States and its allies have primarily focused on countering ISIS within Iraq and Syria only. While ISIS is not limiting its conception of the fight to Iraq and Syria, it's actually executing a global campaign. And so part of the benefit of doing a war game was to see how ISIS's campaign might play out over the near term. Additionally, conducting a simulation helps us to see different results of how the interactions of multiple players might actually play out. There are many states and non-state actors that are countering ISIS or interacting with ISIS, and doing a war game can help us see more clearly what the result of that might be.
All right. Harleen, can you briefly summarize ISIS's global strategy as compared to the strategy of the U.S.?
ISIS is executing a multi-pronged global strategy that has three simultaneous coherent campaigns. First, it's defending and expanding its territory within Iraq and Syria, it's fostering affiliates within the wider region, and it's conducting a polarizing terror campaign in the wider world. It's a comprehensive strategy, which frankly is not the way that the U.S. is framing the fight. The United States is looking at ISIS as a phenomenon within Iraq and Syria, and is being very slow to recognize what ISIS is doing abroad. Part of the reason that we conducted this war game was to help the United States policy community understand that gap and bridge it.